My name is Sabrina Nathan. I'm a fourth year JPPL at McMaster University. I vaguely remember meeting someone from a university fair who talked about JPPL and said it was like the second or third year of it running, and just everything he said about it was just super interesting to me. In high school I fell in love with law and I knew I wanted to be a lawyer like long before that, but it was just really interesting content for me. And as soon as I heard the dude, I don't remember what his name was, but anyways, as soon as I heard him talk about the program, I knew that's what I needed to do. And even as I was researching all these other programs, criminology and stuff at your university, nothing quite stuck with me the way JPPL did. So I was very dramatic about it. It was kind of like, I either get in or I'm doomed and I'm not gonna do anything with my life. Just the way I hurl. What did I expect going in? I thought it was going to be a lot scarier than it was. Partially because I feel like there's a lot of horror stories about nightmare profs and being a statistic and nobody caring about you, but I definitely didn't have that experience in the program myself. I think if you go into university, really any program, not expecting it to be difficult to some extent, you're going to be sorely disappointed. It's definitely an experience, it's definitely challenging at times, especially when you're thrown into new subjects and new ideas and concepts that you've never really thought about. But I mean, if you're going to go into it thinking it's really hard, you're going to have a hard time. I think you should go into it with the mindset that, you know, whatever's in the class might interest you, or what you think you'll enjoy about it, because then the hard parts will kind of work itself out. So I already knew that I wanted to go to law school after my undergraduate. I just didn't know what I wanted to do in between, and everyone kept saying, you know, just do music or art or something like that, and because it doesn't really matter at the end. But I ended up choosing JPPL because I was just really passionate about the content about law and philosophy and all that kind of stuff. And I think my personal statement for the program was literally just me begging to get into the program because I really wanted to, and there was nothing else for me. It was really rather pathetic, and they probably chose me because of how pathetic it was, like they felt bad for me or something. But yeah. I can't name one course that I would say I love the most, but honestly, I would encourage you to take, at any chance that you get, to take a class with Grillette. He is honestly just the best prof. I've basically set up my semester since my second year just to make sure I have at least one class with him a term. He's so passionate, so intelligent. I've learned so much in his courses. He really cares about his students. And I just honestly, greatest prof in the world. I would definitely recommend taking a class with him. I think right now I'm taking Law and Community, which is a seminar with him. I've also taken Philosophy of Law, so a lot of like the mandatory courses for JPPL I've taken with him. And yeah, I just say please take a course with him. I think you would not regret it at all. My favorite movie changes all the time. I'm more of a book person, to be honest, but probably Tangled, which is a Disney movie. I know that's really lame, but it's just so good. It brings me so much joy. I was sick this past week and I watched it like 4 times, I'm not even kidding, and I enjoyed it every single time. Still don't know any of the words though. Besides that, I really like the Harry Potter movies. Yeah, that's about it. For my favorite book, I would have to say the Harry Potter books for sure. I can't choose one, don't make me, that's like choosing a child to kill. But I really love that series. I'm a bit of a nerd about it. Besides that, I actually really like the book called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. It's such an incredible book. It's a memoir. She's beautiful writing, and she talks about some of her experiences when she was a kid, and it was just super moving, and it was just so good. Everyone should read that book for sure. I am passionate about so many things. One of them obviously being law, and just I'm volunteering at an organization called Sasha right now. They're the Sexual Assault Center in Hamilton, and I've been working with a lot of underprivileged groups and people who are facing a lot of difficulties and have basically been chewed up and spit out by our system, and it's in one sense broken and torn my heart apart, but in the other I'm really happy to be able to do this work and help people who need it. On a less serious note, I really like Harry Potter.
smaller program, and I was really interested in philosophy back in high school. Going into it, I'm really happy that I did choose the program because there is a lot of focus on philosophy and the content that centers around it. I think when you study philosophy, a lot of the content can be very repetitive, and sometimes sitting through a 3-hour lecture of really heavy, tough content to follow can be hard. But when you have people around you who are like kind of struggling with the same thing, you create like study groups and you go to the library together, and just figuring that stuff out together helped me out. Because everyone is super helpful and the profs are super helpful, and you're gonna be okay. In my personal statement, I talked about wanting to be part of the program just because I was so invested in studying philosophy, and I think it's really important to look into philosophy and history too, because it helps you critically think, and you really have to be able to like think about what's going on around you and analyze everything and take everything you hear with a grain of salt. My favorite course was the history of political philosophy, just because I loved the prof and I loved being able to learn in a smaller setting. But I also think the content was really interesting because it wasn't just like learning the philosophy of somebody's ideas, but it was also going back into history and seeing how they changed. My favorite movie is the Avengers series. My favorite character is Iron Man, because Robert Downey Jr. is just amazing and is entertaining in every single way. My favorite books are the Harry Potter series, but I really like the Chamber of Secrets, just because I feel like the story actually starts to develop at that point and you get really invested in the characters in the story. I'd say for a while, and right now I'm really passionate about mental health. I just think it's really important that more people are aware and involved in it. People around you are people too, and I think everything nowadays is just so fast-paced and ongoing that you could forget that maybe some people are struggling to keep up with that.
I'm Elizabeth Gedge. I'm a professor in the philosophy department at McMaster and also connected to the Gender Studies and Feminist Research graduate program at McMaster. My areas of specialty are feminist jurisprudence, feminist bioethics, and philosophy of religion. One course I really enjoyed was the course I've most recently taught, and that was an upper-level course on reparations. In this course, we engaged with feminist philosophy, feminist ethics, on the concept of reparations. And so we looked at that rather abstract analysis and we connected it to the Truth and Reconciliation report that has just been produced by Indigenous people in Canada. And what was so great about that course was that it so clearly brought together the conceptual work that philosophy does, feminist work that is critical, and the on-the-ground urgent issues to do with social justice. So that was a fantastic course, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I think my students did too. I actually have 3 pieces of advice for students wanting to enter the Honours Philosophy or the Honours JPPL program. The first piece of advice is keep your grades high. Coming out of your first year, you want to be a strong applicant for these 2 programs. Both programs are quite competitive, and even though your average isn't the only thing that matters when you're being considered for admission to the program, it will help if you have good grades. The second recommendation I have for those who want to major in JPPL in particular is take Philosophy 1B03. That is the course that gives you probably the best exposure to what the issues in the JPPL program will be, and so you'll have just a better awareness of what you're entering and probably greater confidence in entering the program. Any of our introductory courses in philosophy are fantastic preparation for either of those honours programs. But in particular, if you want the JPPL program, then take 1B03. My third piece of advice, and this is specifically for the JPPL students, is to look at the description of the program and to give some thought to where you personally position yourself in relation to the goals of the JPPL program. So what is your particular interest in pursuing this line of study, and where do you think that you might develop a particular perspective that would be valuable in the world at large and in the profession that you choose coming out of the honours program? And this can be used to support your supplementary application, and the committee that considers applicants will take quite seriously what you say about yourself personally in relation to the program. So those are my 3 pieces of advice. So I like mystery movies and mystery books, in fact. I like to see whether I can figure out who did what. And so there's a recent movie that was very intriguing. It's a Canadian movie directed by Adam McGowan and starring Christopher Plummer, called Remember. And it's a very tense movie, and it's got a twist at the end. And I'm not going to say what it is, but I love that movie. The other movie I really love, for a slightly different reason, is Aliens. And that's Aliens, with an S at the end. That movie just keeps you tense the whole way through, and it has a great female star, and that's another thing I love about it. It's very, very engaging, and it's got a great woman who is the main actor in it. So this is a hard question to answer, especially when you're someone my age, and I think that books appeal to you at different ages for slightly different reasons. I've already said that I like murder mysteries, and that's because I'm interested in logic, and I like things to make sense, and I like to try and figure out what the plot was and what the resolution is going to be. But in terms of more serious reading, for me, Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina is an absolute classic. I love this book because of the extraordinary subtlety of Tolstoy's understanding of human nature, and how he can surface or reveal deep conflicts and deep sensibilities that I think are pretty universal. And so even though the book is a tragedy, it's a marvelous and illuminating read. Another thing about Tolstoy's book that I think is very important is how it shows how women in particular can get trapped in the social and cultural norms of their day, and how, in Anna's case, this can actually lead to her own death. And so it's a reminder that we should work towards liberating people from the kinds of compromises of choice that are mediated through our cultural and social norms. Along similar sorts of lines, I really like David Lodge. He also has a very gentle but very penetrating understanding of human nature. A lot of his recent books actually are about men in different phases of their lives, and he treats sort of male psychology as gently and with humor as I think is possible. And I'm saying that as a woman, so I obviously don't have the same connection with or understanding of these themes as a male reader might, or a trans reader might. But I do love his insight, and I love his humor. So those are two authors that I would highly recommend. I actually live in Dundas. As you might know, Dundas was taken over by Hamilton, so strictly speaking, I do live in the city of Hamilton. I came to Hamilton in 1991 from Edmonton, Alberta. What I loved about Hamilton from the moment I arrived was the history, the age of the buildings. So the architecture is really interesting because Hamilton has been settled longer than Edmonton, and so you get wonderful stone and brick buildings which are aesthetically very pleasing. And I myself live in what they call a century cottage, and I love it. I love, because it's a milder climate than Edmonton, I love the diversity of trees, the flowers that I can grow in my garden, the landscapes, and obviously also the escarpment, which is just a fantastic sight, particularly in spring and in fall. As far as the population is concerned, I love the diversity in Hamilton, and that diversity of ethnic groups. Waves of immigration have brought a tremendous diversity to Hamilton, and we now see that reflected wonderfully in the student population. And so one thing I noticed and really liked the moment I came to McMaster from Edmonton was just this terrific diversity in the student population. And this is just so rich intellectually, culturally, socially, in every way. So Hamilton is not Toronto the good. Hamilton has a history of being an industrial city. It's kind of had a blue-collar identity. This is obviously changing, but what remains is this unpretentiousness that Hamilton doesn't have to prove anything about itself, and it accepts itself, so it has this very comfortable identity. And I love that about Hamilton. Why did I apply to work at McMaster? Well, the honest answer is I needed a job. I was applying at different places, and I got an interview here at Mac. I couldn't believe my luck. I knew that McMaster had a fantastic reputation in philosophy, and my colleagues where I was working before said, oh, fantastic, McMaster, if they offer it, take it, and this is what happened. Happily, I did. But at the same time, when I realized it was Hamilton I was coming to, I said to my family, it's Hamilton, it's industrial, it'll be polluted, it'll be awful, but hey, it's a great job and I better take it. And of course what I found, as I've said before, is that Hamilton is a beautiful city with tons of green space and very livable and very interesting and fantastic. Why do I stay at McMaster? It is a great job. I love the department, the philosophy department. My colleagues have supported me since 1991 when I came here. We work together harmoniously. We have a number of really great programs, undergraduate and graduate. The student population is diverse and rich, and it's been a wonderful experience working here. So actually, some of the work I've done in ethics recently has been on the concept of dignity. And I do think that non-human animals have dignity, and I think it would be very undignified to try and put pants on a dog. As far as a straight answer to the question is concerned, I think any self-respecting dog would just get its teeth into those pants and shred them, whether you tried to put them on 4 legs or 2. And those are my answers.